Hi everyone, this is JoeBluhm again with another caricature podcast. I'm going to be drawing a caricature of rapper and songwriter Kanye West. I saw a thing about him in the news recently. I saw a video actually online where he was spouting about Britney Spears um, uh, performing at the Video Music Awards for MTV and how he had the album of the year and everything. And he makes a good point. So I feel like I don't know, he was in my head. I've never drawn him. I really enjoy his jowls and his face. He's got a heck of a chin on him. So I'm just going to do some rough light sketching here and just work on shape primarily. He's got some nice big jawline, and this area right here I can see is really pronounced. It's something that you don't see in a lot of people. So I'm going to really exaggerate that. I'm going to put the bottom of his mouth right up here. Here's probably the top of his head. Despite the big sunglasses, that jawline and that chin, those cheeks, they're so big. So I'm going to start his cheek here, bring his jaw right there, and it's more about what's under his lip than his lips or anything like that. So I'm just going to round this off, and I'll work this up and change it as I go, but right now I'm just trying to define a shape. Just an exaggeration choice. A kind of a upper lip that's very sharp edges, maybe center it in the middle like that. There we go. I can just go back and forth, and instead of erasing, I'll just paint white on top of the black. Just treating this as though I would treat a pencil sketch. But I'm looking at the shape of his lips right now, and the shape of his jaw in general. It's pretty important to his likeness. A lot of times people get caught on eyes for likeness or on trying to get accurate drawing. Likeness has more to do with relationships of dark and light, and from one feature to another, one part of the face to another. How does it interact? How is that unique? That is more to do with the likeness than anything. So I'm kind of blocking in his mustache here, and here's where his goatee will be. But more than anything, this mass right here coming off of around his mouth, straight down, and then back up underneath his bottom lip. He doesn't have that big a chin, so I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to let this be very big. I'm going to paint some tones in now, just loosely. This is going to indicate some shadow so I can get a feeling of where I want to put his bottom lip. Kind of a big bottom lip, but his top lip might be larger. Looking at this, I think I want to change his top lip to being a little larger, so I'm going to do this. Don't be afraid to play around with changing your drawing as you go. Nothing wrong with that. So I want to make this his top lip right here. Use some gray to block that in. There we go. So now we've got his lip fairly established, and this area is huge. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. I'm pretty happy with the shape this early on. I know what I want to do. I've got it in my head. And I found that when I'm painting digitally, it has less to do with the drawing than the tones for me. You need a strong drawing. That's absolutely unquestionable. You need a strong drawing, but I found that for me, when I'm painting digitally, the tones of the piece are just as valuable. So I'm going to block in these sunglasses that he's wearing. It's hard not to make them big, but I think the rest of the piece, or the rest of his jaw, is so important to his exaggeration that I'm going to go ahead and make them small. Here's his bottom lip. Now he's got this extra crease here, and that goes right into this. Let me get his head a little taller. Now when I said I was starting another layer, I was going to tone it, but I'm going to work on the drawing a little bit more. Actually working still on one layer. I'm going to erase some of these, clean it up a little. Maybe his bottom lip can be a little bigger. He does have fairly big lips. I'm not going to ignore that, but I want the jowl to be more of the focus. So now that I've got this blocked in, when you're exaggerating, you want to think about relationships. You can't make everything big on the face, or else you just have a giant face with giant features. So to make something big, to get still the effect, you have to make other things small. So make the top of his head much smaller. Now, once you get to that point, you can fill in details, you can simplify. What I'm doing is I'm treating this as an exaggerated portrait. So I'm going to be working with tones and values. It's going to be sketchy, it's going to be light, but I want to establish where I'm going with the values, where I'm going with the mass in his face, where I want the, it's almost like I'm making a sculpture. That's the way I'm thinking about it. So I want this to be nice and solid. And he's got interesting rolls under here. And then the bottom of his bottom lip. Say it's right there. Alright, now his chin is pretty big. Don't want it to be that big. I just want this area to be big. I do want his jaw to be big. So I'm going to block in his jaw. He's got some solid cheekbones here. And then this big area. I'm actually going to do something interesting and bring it up into his face. And let his chin just rest in here. Like that. There we go. That means I can make this a little smaller up top. Just scratching in where I want his hair to be. And now that I have that, I can pretty much start toning it. I think I'm pretty confident with how this is going at this point. Sometimes you get deceived, you think it's going good, and then you realize, oh, I've just got one part of it good or down, and then you know you have to work out the rest of it before you get too ambitious and move on. So his mustache creates a nice defining line on the top of his lip. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And then you're going to have this coming down. This is important right here. Want to make sure it's nice and big. And this area around his upper lip going straight down into his jowls. That's so strong on his face. Bring his jaw over here. And then his little goatee chin. So drawing celebrities can be fun because it gives you an arsenal of samples where you can show people, here's what I'm capable of when you're doing caricatures. Plus a lot of editorial work revolves around illustrating celebrities, illustrating politicians, and if you just show samples of people that no one knows, that's exactly what it's going to be. No one's going to know. They're not going to know if you can get a likeness or not. You have to be able to prove that to them. So at this point, I'm putting his glasses in. Nice big Kanye West glasses. I'm going to erase this line here, this line here, this line here. Want this now, after you sit back, I can see I want this to stick out a little more and then go in. So I'm going to cut this away a little. And I want this to be really strong, this shadow right here. And even to the point where I take away a little there. There we go. A little bit of a Terminator look going. He's got nice chubby cheeks. Let that exist.